Hi, I'm Dajana Yoakley. I'm a peaceful parenting coach and mom of three, and I'm delighted to give you the latest science-backed research on child development, parenting, and to support you in showing up as the parent that you want to be. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for joining us here on the Delight in Parenting podcast. I'm your host, Dajana Yoakley, and I'm so excited to share my interview with you today. So today on the podcast, I have Clara Roulev. Welcome, Clara. So glad to have you.
Hi, Diana. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited that you're here and you're back. I know we had previous conversations on the podcast, and you've been an amazing speaker at some of my summits. So I'm really excited to dive deeper today on our conversation around anger and reactivity and supporting parents to be more calm and patient in those challenging moments. But before we get into the topic, just to give you guys a little bit of background on Clara. So Clara is a certified peaceful parent, parenting and mind-body coach, playful parenting leader, and registered yoga teacher. She is the founder of Share Peace Parenting, where she helps conscious, thoughtful parents transform reactive cycles at the root through nervous system steadiness, somatic awareness, and deeply compassionate connection. And drawing from interpersonal neurobiology, polyvagal theory, attachment science, and somatic psychology, Clara guides parents in building the inner safety that allows their warmth, leadership, and values to come forward in everyday family life. So you have so much experience and expertise and knowledge in this topic. So I'm really delighted to share our brief conversation today with the audience. So we can jump right in. I'd love to, for you to kind of take us back. And you can tie in a little bit if you'd like, the reason you're doing this work today, but would love for you to elaborate a little bit about taking us back to the season when maybe your own child's anger was overwhelming you and what was happening in your body, and maybe the pivotal moment that ended up changing everything for you, to shift into more awareness and connection, and reshape your connection to reactivity and relationship to reactivity.
Yeah. It's such a powerful conversation because it is such a becoming, you're going to a place of becoming here. You're never there. It's just a journey toward it. And so I'm still on the journey and I'm still working through it. But I do remember that actually since I've started doing this work, obviously my tendency to react, to become angry, frustrated, bigger in those moments that are triggering for me has kind of decreased, and it's not as necessarily as intent. I can come back and on my frustration, I can notice it in the moment, and it's been a work in progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Depending on what else is happening in my world. But there was a moment when I set out as a mom to be a conscious parent. I had suffered a terrible loss in the beginning, and I had determined I had a stillbirth pretty late in my pregnancy the first time, and that kind of broke me open and shifted me toward the decision, the commitment to be the parent that I want to be for my child. And so I didn't know how to do that. I didn't have a good pattern of that. I had a lot of love, but also a lot of other things that weren't helpful. And so I wanted to be a conscious parent. And then as soon as my child started to show that, he had its own ways and he had his own beliefs, and maybe around like toddler years, when he was doing things that were triggering me so much, I was so stunned by my reactions. So here I am, like I'm reading all the books, I'm practicing mindfulness, I'm a yoga teacher, and here
Yeah.
I am reacting like a crazy person with what I was thinking, right? I so ashamed of my reaction, so terrible, such a terrible mother is what I felt like afterward, right? And I was so startled because I didn't know where was coming from. I had no idea. My eyes would get so tight, and my voice was becoming so loud, and my arms would just engage, and it was just really powerful. The feeling of this anger, this energy that was moving through me in those moments, and I did not recognize
Mm-hmm.
myself in them. And so there was
Mm-hmm.
one moment when um when I had felt this, and I listened to, and I really tried to be with my anger. And I called my listening partner and I said, this is what happened. I started raging, and my child is this and this and is doing this terrible things, and I cannot believe he's so disrespectful. And being on my side for a little bit, right? Like being on my side and being in that connected space with my anger. And then there was something really pivotal that I realized that, oh my goodness, I feel so much compassion toward myself. There's a reason why my anger was so powerful, because I felt so afraid. I felt so lonely. I felt so lost. And it was so powerful to feel that. And in that moment, it's just so briefly and so gentle, such a gentle nuance, that as soon as I felt that compassion for myself, I could hold my child and what he did in compassion. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
that the second time, whatever that he was doing was happened, I had a choice. I was able to like feel my feet on the ground. I was able to hold my heart and say, you know what? You're having such a hard time right now. This is hard. And I had a choice. I could
Hmm.
feel my prefrontal cortex shutting down, right? My wise adult. And I could feel my nervous system just kicking in, and this little anger monster coming out through my from my nose and through my ears. And I really could feel that energy moving through my body. And
Yeah.
yeah, and so that was really a powerful moment for me, because it showed me that there is a way that we have a choice when we have taken the moment to be with the part of us that is struggling.
That is so powerful that even in the midst of such powerful emotions like anger, which can really just pull people out of the situation, just really just overreaction, right? That
Yeah.
there is a way for us to switch gears. And I would love for you to maybe take us a little bit deeper to help us understand what's actually happening when we're triggered. If, like you said, our prefrontal cortex, our relational brain goes offline and our amygdala or fight, flight, freeze takes over, what can we actually do? And I know in the past you've said like movement before meaning in the nervous system is wisdom, and which may be more helpful for people listening than maybe sometimes hearing take a pause and take a deep breath. Maybe you could walk us through that for just a moment.
Yeah. So if you're familiar with the nervous system through the polyvagal theory, right? There's a ladder, and it kind of flows into the structure of our brain, right? So if you are familiar with the hand model that Dr. Dan Siegel created and came up with, you have the prefrontal cortex. If you make a fist right over your finger, your thumb, you have the prefrontal cortex over your thumb, and that is your prefrontal cortex, with the medial prefrontal cortex, which is your the part of the brain that is dealing with mindfulness and awareness. And then you have the limbic system, which is your hippocampus and amygdala, and these are subcortical region of the brain, right? This is your rational part, and this is the subcortical is not rational anymore. It's just part of your protective state. And then you have your brainstem and spinal cord that literally just deal with your basic functions of your breathing and digesting and so on. But also fight, flight, freeze. The subcortical region is in charge of the protective states of the nervous system, the sympathetic, which is fight, flight, freeze, right? And so when you have in the moment when you are frustrated with your child, or your child is frustrated with you, the mirror neurons are picking up that energy from the child, and you're already like about to flip your lid. And if you had other memories that are kind of connected, right, in this part of the brain, because what happens is your mirror neurons are picking this energy, and then your amygdala and your hippocampus are making the decision. Have I seen this before? How have I reacted in the past, and what do I need to do now? So it's very simple, and it's very fast. We don't really have a choice, right? Unless we
Hmm.
have become aware of it and we are working on it intentionally to create that pause button. And so you flip your lid, right? What happens? It's your prefrontal cortex goes offline, and then your nervous system in polyvagal theory is literally has already scanned the system around you for danger. So
Yeah.
it's already decided that you can actually overtake your child if and the child became the enemy, the behavior became the enemy, right? And if this is something that had happened in the past and you're reacting to it, obviously you are going to first fight because your nervous system says, well, this is a smaller person, I can actually take it, right? I can actually protect myself,
Hmm.
right? And so
Yeah.
but anger is energy with a place to go, right? It brings energy um, adrenaline and cortisol in your arms and in your legs. It slows down your digestive system. You're like it pumps up your heart. You're ready to fight, and so it's energy, right? Anger has it's expressive. It makes your voice louder. It makes you're actually looking bigger, right, when you're angry. And so that's why movement is so important, because when you
Hmm.
have
Hmm.
realized that, oh my goodness, I am feeling, part of me is feeling angry right now, or I'm
Yeah.
feeling angry right now, you step away. You step away from your child. You do not get close to your child, because anger is driving the bus right now. You will do things, you will say things that you will regret later. Yeah.
Hmm.
Does that make
Hmm.
sense? That's why movement is,
Yeah.
because that energy is rising. So you need to, what happens if you are trying to push a ball under the water, right?
It keeps
It's
popping up. Yeah.
exactly. So you don't take the moment to actually release that, or finish the cycle of that energy, because this is a stress cycle, right? The energy is rising. It wants
Hmm.
to protect you, and then it kind of goes down and slows down, and it goes away and
Yeah.
releases. But you have
Yeah.
to intentionally give yourself that moment to move.
Yeah. I love how you're identifying like these different, phases. And I know you use a framework called the anger map. And I'd love for you to walk us through what does this framework look like, and maybe even what each letter in anger stands for, and how parents can actually use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the anger map just yeah, it came from trying to figure out what are the steps that I've been working and I've been taking to
Hmm.
change the way that I am when I'm angry. And
Hmm.
so what I came up with is that awareness of it is the first step, right? You need to know that you are angry, right? That is the awareness. And
Yeah.
just by naming it, you're giving yourself um, more awareness, more capacity to pause. And so the
Hmm.
first would be anger is just the acronym, and A is for allow and acknowledge, which is right. It's there's a nuance there where you say I'm acknowledging it, then you know it's there, and you're allowing it to have space, but
Hmm.
not to act on it, right? Because the acting
Hmm.
on it is what scares us, right? The being louder
Hmm.
and scarier to our kids and hurting them is what scares us.
Yeah.
Or because seeing it in the past in our families was scary, and we know how that feels in our own body when we see it, right? And so it
Yeah.
makes sense that we don't want to allow it. But guess what? If you don't allow it, it's going to continue to be there. It's going to continue
Yeah.
to drive the bus for you. Um,
Hmm.
just
And
like
what
the
would
bull
be
that
like,
does the, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to keep popping up. And I
Yeah.
wonder if you can give like, what is a short script that parents can use, like a compassionate script to say to yourself or allow and acknowledge,
I'm
just as an
feeling angry.
example.
Yeah, I'm
Hmm.
feeling angry right now. I'm feeling angry. Part of me is feeling angry right now. And maybe part
Hmm.
of me is feeling angry is probably a safer choice just because it gives us it offers us a little bit of spaciousness around it, right? A little bit of
Yeah.
more room, rather than identifying with it. Because we're really not
Yeah.
just anger, right? We're not just anger.
Right.
And
Hmm.
then the second step is N is nurturing. And nurturing feels like a lot. Like, how do I nurture anger? But you're not
Hmm.
nurturing anger, you're nurturing yourself when you're angry. You're nurturing
Mm.
yourself when you are when your anger part is active, right? So you're and then you're and with that choice in mind, with that intention in mind, you're looking at this part that is angry. And anger is can be a primary emotion or a secondary emotion depending on who what lineage you're
Yeah.
following. um because it could be like straight up angry. You have to, like, anger is healthy. You want to have anger in your nervous system.
Yeah.
And primary is usually it's protective of these more vulnerable things underneath, like hopelessness and sadness and fear and loneliness. And so kind of figuring out, like, what is it? Why would a good parent behave like that, right? Why would I behave like that? And
Hmm.
that is powerful, but we might not be able to hold that question if we haven't moved the energy out of our bodies, right?
Mm.
Because
So if somebody's
if
trying to ask themselves that and they're just like, how ridiculous, there's no reason I should be like, or they're
yeah,
kind of like talking themselves out of that, you're saying go back a step. So there's a way to like navigate around the
yeah,
map where it's like, if
yeah,
this isn't working, go
yeah,
backwards.
yeah. So the map is actually just asking you in your A step, in the moment when you are aware, am I am I able to compassionately, to kindly be with myself in this moment, or do I
Yeah.
need to move, right? Um,
Mm. Hmm.
and so you go ahead and move, and there are options to move. You step away from the child, you go in and wash your hands, you go step outside, you do some push-ups, you lay down on the floor, you push into a wall. There's a few several, and the reason why we have so many options is because different things can work in different times, and you need and
Hmm.
different things can work for different people, and you have to try them. You have to be
Yeah.
curious about it, take them as an experiment, right? And then we're going into, after that, after when you are able to go back and nurture yourself in when you're angry, nurture that and figuring out what that part is needing, then you can actually, the E in anger is explore your child's perspective. Because guess what? Just like for
Oh,
me
just
in
a
that,
quick question.
yeah, tell me.
Did we address the G? Was that
Good, move,
ANG?
get moving. Yeah, get
Get
moving.
moving. Okay,
Yeah,
got it. Oh,
yeah.
okay. That was the third step. Sorry.
Ah,
Okay.
thanks for stopping me. I keep going here.
G. So
N
now we're at
is,
E
yeah,
or
so
E.
we're at E, yeah, explore the child's perspective. And so when
Hmm.
you've seen that when you are done with anger, when you're done angry with anger, and if you have behaved in unskillful ways, you feel so bad, because then you realize, oh my gosh, this child they were just hungry. They were just sad. They were just
Yeah.
tired. They had just a
Hmm.
full emotional backpack. They just were curious about how the switch works, or,
Yeah.
how the milk falls off the floor and the glass breaks. It is not an
Yeah.
intentional meanness. It's just
Right.
curiosity and right. And so, but you cannot get there until you have taken care of yourself, right?
Hmm.
Which is
Yeah.
why this is taking forever. If we're missing these steps, it takes us forever to get to that point. And we might get stuck
Right.
in this spiral of anger.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and then naturally this kind of takes us in when we have realized, right, what the child is really needing. Then we can go back into R, which is repair, redo, maybe setting boundaries. And so
Hmm.
it's a way in which it kind of closes the arc of that
Yeah.
challenging moment. And it might be clunky at first, right? But the more we do
Yeah.
it, the more we use it, the more it becomes automatic because what we practice is what we get better at, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I love this that there is a way to, you can kind of like, you can figure out where you are and then start there.
Yeah.
And, for parents listening right now thinking, this sounds great, but I've tried everything and I keep failing.
Yeah.
What would you say to them? And what does like one letter is enough really mean? For example, I know you like from the MAP
Yeah,
perspective,
because
the
there's
acronym.
the map also comes with a gentle 5-minute audio guide to just get you started. What it means is that if you give yourself the time to just really look at one
Hmm.
of the letters, and the letters have underneath there's some questions there that they're brief, that
Yeah.
it gives you an opportunity to pause, and that is it. Right?
Hmm.
Just a little bit of time for reflection, a bit of time for yourself, a little bit of time away from that moment that triggered you so much. Or later on, right, when you have a minute, even if it went like you didn't want it to go, give yourself a minute to really give take a break and reflect on it, because
Hmm.
reflecting on these things is what's going to actually help our nervous system know that there's other choices, that there's a different
Hmm.
way, right? um
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be perfect, because we don't look for perfection. We look for an experiment. Like, try it out and see. Give it
Yeah.
3 weeks. Give it 3 weeks and try it every day and see if you've seen any differences, right? Because before 3 weeks, it might not be enough. Might Maybe your nervous system is not going to catch on, especially if we've
Hmm.
practiced. Unfortunately, we practice the shaping, these angry shapes. We've practiced them for years
Yeah.
in
Decades.
because yeah, right, for many years. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And we expect to see kind of results by Friday. And
Yeah.
realistically, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to just address this question as a somatic coach. What does it mean, like, when you go slower, you go further? And when you make a smaller shift and a smaller change, you actually have more sustainability. Could you just address that? Because I'm sure like parents listening, when they're angry and they're in the heat of it, they want to go like they're reacting 0 to 60, but also when it comes to like changing these patterns, they're like impatient. Like I want to be over there. And I know somatic coaches will say slow is better, smaller is better. So can you explain that just for a moment for us?
Well, in somatic coaching, smaller is better is because, a lot of the times with these patterns, we're actually working with things that are pretty uncomfortable, right? And when in the body. And so we want to give ourselves as much love and support and resource to be able to not, re-traumatize ourselves, or be really uncomfortable, or fail, right? And
Right.
not feel like we actually can make a shift. But think about practically when you're building a house. If you
Yeah.
were to build really, really fast, what happens to the foundation, right? If we're not taking the time to really, you know, put the breakdown, really make sure that it's settled, that it all is aligned, that it's all kind of falling in the same place together,
Yeah.
right? It takes time to build something that's profound and
Yeah.
meaningful and
And
transformational.
stable.
Yeah, it takes
Yeah.
time. And a lot of the times when
Hmm.
we're rushing through something, we really are not giving ourselves the time to practice it intentionally and slowly, and be compassionate with ourselves through it, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
I think the biggest part here it would that would this work requires of us is kindness towards ourselves, right? And so
Yeah.
of course there's a part of us that wants to show up as the parent that we want to be all of the time. And when we are wanting that, we're missing that vulnerable part of us that is truly human, that's going to do the best that it can. Because,
Hmm.
we have so many roles throughout the day. We are doing so much. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that you're mentioning the self-compassion piece because the research backs this up in terms of making long-lasting change. When we are more self-compassionate, we can actually sustain change and we can make the change successfully compared to when we are impatient with ourselves and critical, then we actually don't make as we're not able to make the change and we're not able to sustain it. It actually works as fires on us. So I love that you're touching on that. And since we've talked about this anger map framework, please share with us what you have available for our audience today. And then, yeah, maybe you can talk to us about what kind of the next steps are that you are offering.
Thank you for the opportunity, Diana. The Anger Map is a free download on my website. So if you go to shapeyourparenting.com, you will be able to click through it and download it.
And we have it actually linked below here at the podcast.
Yeah,
So please just
thank
look
you.
below and you can download it as well.
And shortly this year, I am working on a course. It's going to be a live course, 6-week course, 3 hours per week, where we can actually practice these things and have an opportunity to ask our questions, to have that inner experience in
Yeah.
community together, and
Mm-hmm.
really solidify some of the understanding. And really practice this together and receive the compassion of the others and be in good company. Have maybe a cry and a laugh together.
Yeah.
It's exciting. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and if you want to join me on it, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. This has been such a insightful conversation because I know anger is a really, really challenging emotion for many of us out there that struggle with reactivity. And this framework is really tried and true. I mean, it's based on science. It's based on somatic approaches, and oftentimes I think just being told to slow down and take a breath. I understand that works if you practice it and if you're embodying it regularly, but there's other ways to also cut through to the body, which is with this movement piece and then the questions we're asking ourselves, and having a one-page printable, I think, is amazing for parents to reference. Print it out, put it on your fridge, and practice it, even maybe outside the moment, right? Maybe just proactively, like noticing the different phases, might make it a little bit more accessible to remember to even look at the map when you're in the heat of it.
Yeah, yeah. Like anything that we do, we want to practice it not when we're in the heat of the moment,
Yeah,
because again, your prefrontal cortex will shut down and you'll flip your lid and
yeah,
you won't have access to it, and that's normal.
yeah,
That's what it means to have emotions.
yeah,
And then there's an opportunity to bring awareness to it and have a pause too.
yeah. And just one quick thing for parents that print the map out and put it on their fridge and try to use it, but then they forget to use it every time they get angry. The step that you can start with is repair. If you start maybe with any of them, start with repair after the fact. It's already happened. Start with that, and that's going to give you that's going to de-shame your experience of being reactive, right? And then you can work backwards even. So it doesn't have to
Yeah.
just go like from the beginning to the end. You can start here and go backwards. You
Yeah.
can start in the middle, go up, go down. It's very flexible.
Yes, Diana, that is such a powerful thing, because at the end of the day, really, to break cycles is this connection. That's how we're breaking cycles,
Yeah,
right? Of reactivity. And the only challenge here is that a lot of the times, if we are not comfortable with ourselves being when we're angry and we're frustrated with our anger, is really hard to repair. And
right.
so that's why repair comes at the end, because
Yeah.
it makes sense, right? If we haven't had
Hmm.
the experience of having someone who is telling us, "Hey, I'm sorry, and it's not your fault," then
Hmm.
it's hard. Yeah, it takes a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
It's a very tricky place.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yes, but if there's one thing that you can do after you humanly flip your lid,
Yeah.
it is to repair with your child. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. And also I
Thank
just want to throw
you.
in there, Clara also offers one-on-one coaching. And so if anybody's interested, definitely check out her website and see if there's availability. But thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you, Diana. Thank
we'll
you
see
for
you
your
next time.
thoughtfulness and support. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Great to
Thank
be here.
you.